The crack of my Colt revolver shattered the Montana night like thunder rolling off the Rockies, the barrel smoking in my grip as I stared down the barrel at the shadowy figures creeping toward my barn. 3 of them, maybe 4 rustlers, by the look of their hunched forms and the gleam of knives in the moonlight. I caught them red-handed, trying to make off with my best steers. But this wasn't just about cattle. No, this was personal, a strike at the heart of everything I'd built from the ashes of my old life. My finger hovered on the trigger, heart pounding like a war drum, as one of them turned, his eyes widening in the pale light. "Harlan," he snarled, recognizing me. "You should have stayed inside, old man. I ain't old, not in the ways that count." But 12 years on this godforsaken ranch had carved lines into my face deeper than any canyon. Jacob Harlan, that's me, widower, rancher. A man who'd stared down blizzards and bandits, but never quite outrun the ghost of my Sophia. She'd been gone since that fever took her in '73, leaving me with nothing but memories and a spread of land that stretched to the horizon, like an endless promise I couldn't keep. I fired another shot into the dirt at their feet, scattering them like leaves in a gale. "Get off my land," I growled, my voice low and steady, the kind that brooks no argument in these parts. They bolted for their horses, cursing under their breath, but I knew this wasn't the end. Trouble like that always comes back, meaner than before, as their hoofbeats faded into the dark. I lowered the gun, my hands shaking not from fear, but from the rush of it all. The barn loomed behind me, its weathered boards holding the scent of hay and horseflesh, a reminder of the life I'd clawed back after losing her. Sophia. God, even thinking her name twisted something inside me, like a knife in old scar tissue. She'd been my light, my reason for taming this wild corner of Montana, her laughter echoing through the cabin, her hands soft on my callous ones as we built our dreams together. But the prairie fever had come swift and merciless, stealing her in the night while I held her, whispering promises I couldn't fulfill. "I'll love you forever," I'd said, and I meant it. 12 years later, I still did. I holstered the Colt and trudged back to the cabin, the wind whipping at my coat like invisible hands trying to pull me under. The place was dark, save for the faint glow of embers in the hearth. I pushed open the door, expecting the familiar silence, but something was off. A lantern flickered on the table, casting long shadows across the room, and there she was, a woman, sitting in Sophia's old rocking chair, her fingers tracing the pages of a leather-bound journal I knew all too well. Sophia's journal. My blood ran cold. "Who the hell are you?" I demanded, my hand instinctively dropping to my gun belt again. She looked up, her eyes the color of storm clouds brewing over the mountains, dark, intense. Nothing like Sophia's gentle blue, but there was something familiar in the curve of her jaw, the way her hair fell like midnight silk over her shoulders. "I'm Amelia," she said, her voice steady, but laced with an edge, like a blade hidden in velvet. "Amelia Voss. Sophia was my sister." The words hit me like a bucking bronco. Voss. That name stirred memories of letters from Colorado, the ones I'd burned without reading, full of city folks' disdain for a cowboy like me. Sophia's family had never approved, thought she deserved better than a man who measured his worth in acres and head of cattle. But here was her sister, in my cabin, uninvited, flipping through pages that held my wife's most private thoughts. "What are you doing here?" I asked, stepping closer, my boots thudding on the plank floor. The air smelled of pine smoke and something floral, her scent cutting through the musty familiarity of home. She closed the journal gently, as if it were fragile glass. "I didn't mean to intrude, Mr. Harlan Jacob, isn't it?" The door was unlocked, and the storm's howling out there like a banshee. I couldn't ride any further. Outside, the wind moaned against the windows, snowflakes already tapping like impatient fingers. A blizzard was brewing, the kind that could bury a man alive if he wasn't careful. But her presence here, that was a storm of a different kind. I eyed her warily, noting the travel-worn dress clinging to her frame, the mud-caked boots by the door. She didn't look like trouble, but in these parts, looks could kill. "Your family's been riding," I said gruffly, hanging my coat on the peg. "Something about you running from trouble. A marriage, wasn't it?" Her lips pressed into a thin line, and for a moment, I saw fire in those eyes, defiance, maybe even desperation. "Not a marriage. A transaction. Victor Kane, the railroad baron out of Denver. My parents owed him everything, debts from bad investments. They sold me off like a prize heifer to clear the slate. I'd rather freeze in Montana than warm his bed. Kane." The name sent a chill down my spine, colder than the wind outside. I'd heard whispers in town Big Timber's saloon was full of talk about his empire. swallowing up land for tracks, crushing anyone in his path. Ruthless as a grizzly, they said, with a posse of hired guns to back him up. If she was running from him, trouble wasn't far behind. You picked a hell of a place to hide, I muttered, stoking the fire. Sparks flew up the chimney, mirroring the spark of something unwelcome in my chest. Sympathy, or worse, curiosity about this woman who carried echoes of Sophia in her features. Amelia stood, smoothing her skirts. Sophia wrote about you in her letters, said you were a good man, strong as the land itself. She found peace here, away from the city's noise. I thought, maybe I could too. Her voice softened, and damn if it didn't tug at me, reminding me of nights when Sophia would read aloud by the fire, her words weaving comfort into the cold. But I wasn't ready for this. Not for her, not for the way her presence filled the room, chasing away the shadows I'd grown accustomed to. Peace ain't free out here, I said, turning away to fetch coffee from the stove. And I'm not in the business of harboring runaways, especially not ones that bring barons and bounties knocking. She didn't flinch. I'm not asking for charity. I can work, cook, clean, whatever needs doing, just until the storm passes. As if on cue, the wind rattled the shutters, snow piling against the panes. I poured 2 mugs, handing her one, our fingers brushing for a split second. Electric, like static before a lightning strike. I pulled back quick, cursing inwardly. What was wrong with me? Sophia's things were everywhere, the shawl sheet embroidered draped over the armchair, her silver locket on the table, still holding a lock of her raven hair. This cabin was her shrine, and now her sister was here, stirring up dust on memories I kept buried. We sat in uneasy silence, the fire crackling between us. Amelia sipped her coffee, her eyes darting around the room, taking in the details. It's just like she described, she murmured. The view of the mountains from the window, the way the light falls on the floorboards at dawn. She loved it here, loved. The word hung heavy, and I felt a pang in my gut. She did, I admitted, staring into my mug. We built this place together, fought tooth and nail against the elements, the rustlers, everything. But the fever, it came out of nowhere. One day she was laughing, planning our future, and the next, my voice trailed off. The ache is fresh as yesterday. Amelia's gaze softened. I'm sorry. I lost her too, you know. She was more than a sister, my confidant. When she married you and moved out here, it broke something in our family. But her letters, they glowed with happiness. That's why I came. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Outside, the storm intensified, wind howling like lost souls. Part of me wanted to send her packing at first light, but another part, the lonely part that had stared at empty horizons for too long, wondered what it might be like to have company again. Not replacement, never that, but something real in the void. As the night wore on, we talked in fits and starts. She told me about Denver's suffocating society balls, the pressure from her parents Eleanor and the late Mr. Voss, who'd gambled away their fortune on mining schemes. Cain had swooped in like a vulture, offering salvation in exchange for her hand. He's not a man, she said bitterly. He's a machine, building his empire on broken backs. I shared scraps of my life, the cattle drives, with old hands like Bill Travers, the grizzled foreman who'd stuck by me through thick and thin, and young Tommy, the kid from town who helped with branding, full of wide-eyed dreams about the West. They were my makeshift family now, but it wasn't the same. This land takes everything, I said, but it gives back if you're tough enough. Amelia leaned forward, her eyes locking on mine. Tough like you, or like Sophia? The question hung there, charged. I felt a pull, like gravity shifting. Both, I whispered. But inside, turmoil brewed. Was this betrayal? Sophia's portrait on the wall seemed to watch, her painted smile a silent accusation. Yet Amelia's presence warmed the room in ways I hadn't felt in years. Her laugh, when I recounted a botched roundup, the way she tilted her head, listening intently. By midnight, the storm had us snowbound. I offered her the spare room, the one I'd avoided since Sophia's passing. As she retired, I lingered by the fire, poking at embers. My mind raced with what-ifs. What if Cain's men were already on her trail? What if letting her stay cracked open the vault I'd sealed around my heart? The wind whispered warnings, but deep down a spark ignited curiosity, maybe hope. Little did I know, this intruder in my solitude would drag me into a whirlwind of danger and desire, forcing me to confront ghosts I'd long buried. Morning broke with a hush, snow blanketing the world in white. I rose early, tending the fire, when a knock echoed Bill Travers, my foreman, stomping snow from his boots. Boss, heard shots last night. Rustlers? I nodded, glancing toward the spare room. Yeah, but that's not all. Got company Sophia's sister. She's in trouble. Bill's eyebrows shot up, his weathered face creasing. The hell? Kane's after her, ain't he? Word spreading in town. Bounty hunters sniffing around. My gut twisted. Trouble had arrived sooner than I'd thought. As Amelia emerged, sleepy-eyed but resolute, I introduced them. Bill tipped his hat, ever the gentleman, but his eyes held warning. Ma'am, this ain't no place for city folk, but if Jacob's vouching, we'll watch your back. She smiled faintly. Thank you. I could pull my weight. The day unfolded in a blur shoveling pots, checking livestock. Amelia tried her hand at chores, her soft hands blistering on the shovel, but she didn't complain. Watching her, determination etched on her face, stirred something forbidden. During a break, as we shared stew, our knees brushed under the table. Accidental? Her cheeks flushed, and I looked away, heart racing. Push and pull guilt warring with longing. That afternoon, Tommy rode up, breathless. Mr. Harlan. Strangers in town asking about a woman matching Miss Amelia's description. Mean-looking fellas, armed to the teeth. Amelia paled. Kane's men. I stood, grabbing my rifle. Bill, Tommy ride perimeter. I'll handle this. But as they left, Amelia touched my arm. Jacob, don't. It's my fight. Her touch burned. Not anymore, I said, voice rough. Inside, emotions churned protectiveness, fear, a flicker of something deeper. As the sun dipped, shadows lengthened, and I wondered if this was the start of healing or heartbreak. The evening brought more tension. We sat by the fire, Amelia reading from Sophia's journal aloud a passage about our first winter, full of love and laughter. Tears glistened in her eyes. She was so happy with you. I swallowed hard. She was my everything. Our hands met over the book, lingering. Electric again. I pulled back, but the seed was planted. That night, lying awake, I heard her soft breathing through the wall. Loneliness cracked, but guilt held firm. What would Sophia think? The storm outside mirrored the one within, promising more trials ahead as days blurred. Small moments built, teaching her to ride, our bodies closed on the saddle. Shared glances over coffee, her hand bandaging a cut on mine, tender and sure. Push guilt screaming betrayal, pull her spirit awakening mine. Bill and Tommy became allies, sharing stories around the fire, adding life to the cabin. Bill's gruff wisdom, life's for the living. Jacob, Tommy's youthful optimism, she's got fire. Boss, like Sophia, but different, yet danger loomed. One night, riders circled the ranch scouts, I reckon. I fired warning shots, heart pounding. Amelia stood beside me, rifle in hand. I'm not going back, she vowed. Her courage stirred me. In that moment, under the stars, I felt alive. But as we retreated inside, doubt crept in. Could I love again? Or would Kane's shadow destroy us both? The push-pull intensified. A heated argument erupted when I suggested she leave for safety. I won't be chased away, she cried, eyes flashing. I grabbed her arms. Damn it, Amelia, I can't lose you too. The words hung, revelation in the air. We froze, breaths mingling. Then, rain started a storm mirroring our turmoil. Lightning flashed as I pulled her close, our lips meeting in a desperate kiss. Thunder roared, hearts pounding. But guilt crashed down. I broke away. We can't, Sophia. Tears streamed down her face. I'm not her, but I could be yours. The words haunted me as she stormed to her room. Alone again, I stared at Sophia's locket, torn between past and present. Little did I know, greater perils awaited, testing our bond in ways unimaginable. The kiss lingered on my lips like forbidden whiskey, burning hot and leaving me reeling as I stood in the cabin's dim light. Rain hammering the roof like accusations from above. Amelia's door slammed shut, echoing through the walls, and I slumped into the armchair. Sophia's shawl brushing my shoulder like a ghostly touch. What had I done? 12 years of faithful solitude, guarding her memory like a sacred oath. And in one moment of weakness, I'd cracked. But Amelia, God, she was fire where Sophia had been steady flame, challenging everything I'd buried. I poured a shot from the bottle hidden in the cupboard, the amber liquid steadying my hands, but not my heart. Outside, the storm raged, mirroring the chaos inside me. Kane's men were out there, circling like wolves, and now this. Push and pull desire warring with duty, healing teasing at the edges of my grief. Morning came gray and sodden, the ranch a muddy mess under leaden skies. I rose before dawn, avoiding her eyes as I saddled up for chores. Bill was already in the barn, his grizzled beard flecked with hay.